Hello and welcome to the Amateur Austenite. My name is Frances Duncan. I'm an author and the founder of the Jane Austen Society of New Zealand. My fabulous co-host is my friend Chan.
Hello! Back again.
And today we're discussing chapter 12 of Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. Tom comes home and they have a wee little ball, an impromptu ball. Mrs Norris and Mrs Rushworth talk about Mr Crawford marrying Julia, and Tom is very selfish and forces Fanny to dance with him, even though she did want to dance with him. Fanny has a conversation with Edmund about Mr Crawford, because Mr Crawford's been away for 2 weeks. Then he comes back. Edmund tries to convince Fanny that it's all in her head. Oh, and Mr Yates is mentioned.
First time Yates comes on the scene.
So the chapter opens reminding us that Sir Thomas is coming home in November. Tom actually steps up to be the head of the household to come home. Apparently something happens at this time of year that you need to go home to your estate because Mr Crawford also has to go home to his estate.
Harvest?
Ah, yeah, that would make sense. Miss Crawford's a little appalled to discover that she prefers Edmund when Tom comes home. It was vexatious and she was heartily sorry for it. But also, he did not care for her. And there's this lovely little sentence that if he became Sir Thomas complete, if Sir Thomas had died and Tom became Sir Thomas, she did not believe she would accept him.
Which is interesting in itself because it does show there is more potential to Mary Crawford. And I think that's why so many people like her, the Crawfords, is because there's potential there. There's some pertinent statements later on where he talks about their example. That's why Mr Crawford comes back, by example and by inclination. He's into thinking about himself only.
His idle vanity, thoughtless and selfish from prosperity and bad example. So Mr Crawford goes away for 2 weeks and the Miss Bertrams are desolate without him.
But so's he. He's bored.
The social pleasures of Mansfield call to him. Julia realises that she's in trouble and realises that she should distrust his attentions and wish him not to return. But then when he comes back and he just charms her again.
Yeah.
He is welcomed quite as gladly by those who he came to trifle with. Maria missed him the most.
I think that's as much by contrast as it is by anything else. It goes on to talk about Mr Rushworth's conversation, which is about his hunting dogs and his jealousy of his neighbours and things like that, and that would just...
Very boring. Julia thinks herself justified in believing that she was the favourite because Mrs Grant keeps hinting about it, but Maria has the more precious one of the hints of Mr Crawford. Fanny's watching the whole thing again. Again, there's a whole chapter of her being an observer. She could never see Mr Crawford or her sister without observation and seldom without wonder or censure.
And also she remembers that time at Southerton.
She tries to hint to Edmund. Edmund says his manners to women are such as must please.
Well, yes, that's part of the problem.
I'm pretty sure he likes Maria. No, he totally likes Julia. This is what happens. You don't know men. When a man likes a girl, he will distinguish her sister or her friend. And he's like, I'm not sure you're right. But she supposes she must have been mistaken.
And
Doubts
Edmund's
herself.
a man.
Right?
So he should know how men think.
But she finds it hard to believe him, even though she normally does.
It's jarring with what she's seeing, of course. It's a two-way thing as well. It isn't just Henry making polite with Maria. She sees that Maria is actually very struck on Henry Crawford, so she's flirting back. So the danger always has been Maria.
Mr Crawford's doing a really great balancing act, though.
Oh, heck yeah.
His manners to each, animated and agreeable, to lose no ground with either, stopping just short of the consistence, the steadiness, the solicitude, and the warmth which might excite general notice. That is hard to balance. 2 women off against each other with nobody else in the room noticing, except Fanny.
Because people see what they want to see. Bearing in mind, they've really only known him for 7 weeks and for social visits.
So this was Fanny's first ball, not the big fancy one she gets later. This is declared as her first ball.
This is the first time she's been out to dance, yes.
Yeah. She does get to dance, but then she has to sit and watch because Tom's off dealing with a sick horse and has to overhear Mrs Norris and Mrs Rushworth talking. And I had to laugh out loud because Mrs Rushworth was saying, it's a shame, basically, that Mr Rushworth and Maria couldn't just continue dancing together because we're amongst family. And Mrs Norris, oh, I laughed out loud. But dear Maria has such a strict sense of propriety.
how the mighty will fall.
And they're saying, oh, she looks so much happier now she's dancing with Mr Rushworth. And Fanny looks and can't remember because she'd been dancing with Edmund and couldn't think of anybody else.
Yes.
So cute. So she's uncomfortable hearing this because she doesn't think they know what's actually going on. Mrs Norris says he's going to marry Julia. It's something we only talk about amongst friends. He has never indicated he's going to marry Julia. And she's waiting for Tom to turn up. She thinks it would be a great honour for him to ask her to dance.
Ironically, it's anything but an honour when he finally does.
By the modesty of her nature, she immediately, when he comes in and sits down and does not ask her, feels she had been unreasonable in expecting it. She's the only other young person there who would be up dancing. She was up dancing before. He sits down, tells her about the sick horse, picks up a newspaper so he's got a shield from her and says, you know, if you want to dance, we can do that. It's like, no, it's fine. Then he throws the newspaper away. He's like, I don't need a barrier anymore. Great. We'll just sit here and gossip about some people. Till Mrs Norris says, Tom, play cards with us.
My God, the horns of a dilemma. Dance with Fanny or play cards with Mrs Norris?
He couldn't distinguish between the selfishness of another person and his own. And he rants about her asking in such a way as to leave him no possibility of refusing, which is exactly what he's done to Fanny. What if Fanny had been honest and she didn't want to dance?
Except I think she did.
Well, no, she definitely did want to dance.
She did want to dance. She just wished it hadn't been in such a way.
What if she had meant it when she said no the first time, though, and then he had basically been forcing her to dance? Sure, it's different because she did want to dance, but she had already said no. I don't know.
But I think
not fair.
No, it's not fair. If anything about this book is it's about people who just don't see. They're all in their own little world, except for Fanny, who's very much an observer. Even Edmund, he's quite oblivious of what's going on. He so likes and is infatuated by Mary Crawford. Even his normally astute manner is affected by this. So they all see what they want to see.
It's funny because you could almost see them as teenagers in high school and their hormones just taking over their sense.
Fanny's 18 at this time? So she's only 18, but she's been very sheltered. Look at how many 18-year-olds leave school and they go to university and are absolutely lost. The boys are young. I mean, look at 25-year-old boys. We like to think they're men, but actually, you know, you might look at them on a Saturday night down at Courtney Place. And the same as Julia and Mariah. You could imagine those as a couple of drunk skunks meandering around Courtney Place with their mini skirts and their falling over each other, having a wonderful time.
It's so hard to think of them like that, though.
I think that's part of our challenge, is we're looking at the manners as the polite conversation. The way they behave is quite superficial, but inside they're not mentally mature yet.
And that is our summary of Chapter 12 of Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. My name is Frances Duncan. You can find me at francesduncanwrites.com and on Twitter at Frances_Duncan. Thank you for listening and we wish you happy reading.